So here's the first place that my brain goes to on this. Because if we are going to have this group of homogenous, as you called, sheeple type of populace, and the US is known for creativity and entrepreneurship and building things. What do you think is going to happen in the future with our human capital if we're literally training everybody to think and feel and behave the same way? How are we going to have industry leaders and CEOs and people to be able to take society to the next level? Like, where are those people going to come from?
I think it's a balancing act. First, we should acknowledge that there are many bright people who escape from the industrial school system. You're an example of that. You escaped. You wouldn't have thought it at the time. You would have said, well, I'm having a really hard time with my dyslexia. But in reality, you came through that system and you escaped. And so there are always, in every system, there is always a population of mavericks who kind of get through. And so to say that the industrial school system destroys all people is not true. There are often mavericks at the very high end of intelligence and achievement who don't have any trouble with academics. They just get things done quickly. And then there are often many mavericks who are not skilled with academics and they just don't care. They get through somehow and they make it. The biggest challenge is that middle zone of people who are not at either extreme, and yet they find themselves dulled and their love of learning dulled by it. What I observe, however, is that it doesn't seem to be a terminal condition. Schooling may have significant impact on people, significant even negative impact. But where I first remember this is when I got to college and I was freed from the very small social environment of high school. And all of a sudden I realized that in college, everybody can find their niche. And you can discover that, hey, if I'm a theater kid, there's other theater kids, and we can really enjoy being together. We don't have to be picked on by the football jocks. And if I'm a football jock, then I can find other people who like what I do. And so that's where you start to see it. And then once people get out of university, then they can congregate with people who are like them, who they enjoy spending time with. And in many ways, they do often recover from the trauma of their school experience. On the whole, though, it's interesting. I read a book recently by an educational guy named Hirsch, E.D. Hirsch, something like that. And the book was on the knowledge gap. And he, in that book, traced some of the comparisons between the US American school system and the Chinese school system. And it's quite interesting that the Chinese school system is vastly superior in the current scenario to the US American system in terms of technical accomplishment, basically the STEM fields, mathematics better, engineering better, all of those things better. But it's woefully inadequate to creating the free thinkers that the United States culture is able to create. And so my answer to that is there are enough vestiges in the US American culture broadly of valuing individualism, cowboy culture, and that students who are raised in the United States absorb that cultural milieu, and it hasn't yet been entirely stamped out of them by the industrial school system. But there is a dramatic difference. If you went back 75 years ago, you would see a big difference from today, and I fear to think where things would be in 50 to 75 years if we didn't have, for example, an enormous growth of homeschooling in the United States, an enormous growth of these other non-industrial school models that are extremely popular and normal among affluent, educated people now.